Cartersville, Georgia could be one of Atlanta's best small towns, so let's talk about what makes this city so great. Cartersville is in like the northwest part of Metro Atlanta, and it's quite a ways from the center of Atlanta. From the middle of Atlanta to Cartersville is about 39 miles, so some people would argue that Cartersville is not really one of the Metro Atlanta suburbs, but it could be debatable. It is quite a ways out there, but many people who work in Atlanta also live in Cartersville, so it is quite a ways out there, but that also means that this is a smaller town that's very distant from the big city and has that small town feel. Cartersville is in Bartow County, and Bartow County is not really one that we talk a lot about in this channel, but some other cities that are in Bartow would be like Adairsville, Harley, and Kingston. What's up, y'all? My name is Victor with Atlanta Suburban Living, and we put out videos every week about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the suburbs of Atlanta. Like many of the cities that we talk about on this channel, Cartersville was kind of established because of the railroad that goes right through the city. As you can imagine, the railroad brought a lot of big economy, especially when it was a very popular way or the main way to get goods across the country. The railroad was like the main reason for many of these suburbs around Atlanta, and Cartersville was just that. In fact, during the Reconstruction era of the United States after the Civil War, Cartersville became like the seat of Bartow County, so the main city. This is where you're going to find the most economy. The highest population of Bartow County is here in this city. Today, the railroad still goes through this city, but it's obviously not like the main way that we get goods across the country, but it does have a small impact on the city of Cartersville. Especially like the downtown area or like the town center of Cartersville is right there where the railroad goes through, and so you can still sometimes see that train going through downtown Cartersville, and it is crazy loud, and it's like cool to see, but you really don't want to live too close to that railroad. It will absolutely be annoying. If you're like at home and you can hear the train just outside of your home, you definitely want to avoid that. So downtown Cartersville is cool to visit, but you don't want to live too close to that train line. Like any city anywhere in the country, there's going to be some downsides to living in this area, but before we talk about the downsides of Cartersville, I want to talk about what are the good things about this area. And the downtown city center area of Cartersville is definitely something that marks this city. Many suburbs around Atlanta have these kinds of downtown areas, but Cartersville is one that does a great job of preserving that historic feel and that small town feel. It's not very common to find like big box stores or big name brand stores in the city center of Cartersville. You have a lot of locally owned mom and pop shops all throughout the downtown area, and this downtown area of Cartersville is not what the rest of the city looks like. The majority of the city of Cartersville is very rural, super like out there country, very peaceful and quiet, low to no crime, very family friendly kind of city. And so it's very spread out. If you live in Cartersville and you're not in the downtown area, you're like way out there in a very quiet, peaceful neighborhood. But the downtown area is very different. This is where you have the most densely populated businesses and economy, commercial areas are right there in the downtown area. And while the vibe of this city center is very like active and you see regularly like a lot of people out there and traffic, there's a lot going on in downtown Cartersville. This is not really good representation of the rest of the city of Cartersville. In general, this is a very quiet town. And when we say that Cartersville is a small town, we really are referring to like the feel of the city. We're not necessarily referring to the size of the city, because Cartersville is in fact a pretty big area. Like many places in Georgia and probably across the whole country, there is a city like incorporated part of Cartersville, and this is right around the city center. And so anything right around that city center area is considered the city, but outside of that city center area, they still have a Cartersville address, but it's considered like unincorporated Cartersville or unincorporated Bartow County. And so while the residences outside of the city center still have a Cartersville address, it's not going to be served by the city's services, the police department, the fire department, those kinds of things. The areas that are outside of the city center are served by the county. And so you have Bartow County Fire, Bartow County Police, the post office. Oh wait, the post office is national. But all of those county services are where the residents of Cartersville who don't live in the city center, you would be having those kinds of county services. And so the city of Cartersville is pretty big, but when you consider all of the area that has a Cartersville address, you're really talking about a very large area, maybe up there with one of the largest in all of the Metro Atlanta or Georgia area. This small town vibe, though, the small town feel that I'm referring to when I talk about Cartersville mostly has to do with like the fact that it is very country and very rural, and like the people are very friendly. This is something that you very much get in this area here in Cartersville. People all kind of feel very familiar with each other and very friendly with each other. And so this is something that makes this city unique that you don't really find in all of the other suburbs of Atlanta, and certainly not something that you're going to find in the middle of Atlanta. People are much more friendly out here in the country, and so that kind of southern hospitality is certainly something that you still see here in Cartersville. And while this is a very family-friendly area, we have lots of families who are wanting to move here. The school ratings in this area are kind of mixed. They get a mixed review here in this area. So let's talk about some of the different issues that we have here with the public schools. So there are multiple school rating sources, specifically websites that will rate these schools. And so Cartersville High School is a prime example of this kind of mixed review across many different sources. According to greatschools.org, which is one of the most popular school rating websites, Cartersville High School is a 6 out of 10. But according to niche.com, which is another very popular website, Cartersville High School gets an A-. And so they're not really comparing apples to apples here. They're using a number system for greatschools.org and the letter system for niche.com. And so it's hard to say what exactly is the truth, but take it from someone who lives 20 minutes from Cartersville, and I can tell you that the residents of this city all feel like the public schools here are very good. If you told the residents of Cartersville that greatschools.org rated Cartersville High School a 6 out of 10, they would almost all be surprised. They'd be like, oh, really? I thought it would be much higher. And so the residents are very happy with the public schools here in this area. They're not perfect. They're not excellent, and nobody would deny that. Even the residents of Cartersville would admit that these schools are by no means 10 out of 10 schools, but they're not 6 out of 10 schools. They're still acceptable quality schools that people who are looking for those excellent schools, they move to Cartersville, and that's one of the reasons why they come here, is for the really good public schools. One thing that definitely makes this one of the best small towns in all of Georgia and all of Metro Atlanta is the fact that there are so many big companies moving very close to this city. They're not right in the middle of Cartersville, but they're nearby. And so you have lots of economy and employers and big business that is certainly helping the economy. And there are lots of these big companies. Anheuser-Busch, Georgia Power, Komatsu, just to name a few, are very close or in Cartersville. You also have SK Battery, which is a new company. They are developing a new power plant or new factory there in Cartersville, like $5 billion that they're putting into the city and developing this factory for batteries. 3,500 jobs they're talking about, and all of this is just starting to break ground in 2025. And so another big company that's moving to Cartersville. When we talk about other small towns in Georgia or around Metro Atlanta, you don't really see such big businesses moving nearby. And so this is something that's unique to Cartersville. In addition to that, not only do people who live in Cartersville drive all the way to Atlanta for work, they drive south to Atlanta for work, but very often they will go to other neighboring major cities like Marietta or Alpharetta. These big cities also have lots of economy, lots of employers, and so it's very common for residents of Cartersville to drive to one of those closer cities for work. The average home price in this city is about $450,000, but you can definitely find homes as low as $300,000. And so this is something that really makes this city unique as well. You're not having to break the bank to buy a home here. One example of those homes currently for sale in Cartersville is 15 Southview Drive. It's a 4-bed, 3-bath home, about 1,200 square feet, built in 1995. This also means that you can get a lot of home for your money in this city. So another example of a home currently for sale here is 12 Ridgeline Way. It's a 5-bed, 5-bath home, 3,600 square feet, brand new construction, built in 2022, and they're only asking $575. Another one is 23 Knollwood Way, also built in 2022, 5-bed, 4-bath home, 4,200 square feet, and they're asking $600,000. So no question that your dollar goes a long way when it comes to buying a home here in Cartersville, and that's one thing that really brings a lot of people to this area as well. But again, there are some downsides to living here. There's certainly going to be downsides to living in any part of any city. There's going to be some negatives, and it's important that we talk about the downsides, not just the good things about a city, because if you're planning on moving here, we really want to make sure that you have a balanced view of the city to help you decide if this is the right area for you. So I've made an entire video about the pros and the cons of living in Cartersville, Georgia. You can check it out right here. I'll see you in the next one.